Hi everyone, and welcome to this video where we're going to discuss bringing a Rhino and Grasshopper pattern generated image into Illustrator, and then we're going to make it black and white so that we could create a screen printing print onto acetate, and then we're also going to put an image underneath and make an image screen so that we could digitally print on a digital printer, a textile, and then create the tote bag pattern that we've got. Okay, let's get making. Alright, so what we've got here is we've got our Grasshopper script that we have used, and here's the tote bag pattern that we have. And this tote bag pattern, just to recap, comes from Taika Studio. I don't have an affiliation with them. It was just a good pattern that I got from Etsy and downloaded. So if you want to follow along, you can go and download the same pattern. Alright, what we are looking at is here we've got a multi-point populated attractor, and we've made this pattern here on a hexagon grid. And then also we've got the central section of our tote bag, and we've basically filled it with circles on a random grid. So here we've got a populate 2D random grid. We've populated that, and we've got all of our circles. And what's really interesting to note is that our circles are overlapping. And this is really cool because we're making a screen print graphic or a digitally printed graphic, and we don't have to worry about the holes being overlapped like we did for laser cutting. If we were laser cutting, we'd need to have non-overlapping circles or geometries so that when we cut it, the material would stay together and be structural. Okay, so what we're now going to do is export our pattern by baking it out. So let's come back over here and let's take our pattern outline and let's go bake. I'm going to bake it to this output, and we'll go okay, we've baked it there. We'll get our geometry and we'll bake that to the same layer, and we'll group it and go okay. Now we've baked that out. Now what we'll do is we'll come back across here and we'll bake our pattern to the same layer and go okay. And then we'll go across to final geometry and we'll bake that as well. And we'll group it. Okay. So now that we've got that, we can zoom out, we can highlight our script, and we can disable it. Alright, now that we've got that, what we're going to do is we're going to create an A1 piece of paper that will give us a scale. Now you could use the width of the fabric that you're going to print onto by X percentage long, or you could also use depending on the printer that you use to make the acetate film for your screen, you can make that right size as well. But here we're going to use A1. So I'm just going to come out and click on rectangle, and the first thing I'm going to do up here in the command line is I'm just going to say 0, 0. So we've started at the world 0, press enter. Now we know that we want an A1 piece of paper, so that is 841, 594 millimeters. Press enter, and now I've got my A1 piece of paper. Alright, what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab this section and I'm going to rotate it, and then I'm just going to move it so that it fits into the bottom corner. And then this one here, I'm going to rotate that one as well, hold shift, and then I might move it and put it up here at the opposite end, for example. Maybe I'll just move that one slightly down. Okay, this is not a great layout, but it doesn't matter for this exercise. Now we're going to select all of this, and then we're going to go to File. We're going to export selected into a folder that you want, give it a name, and down in here in the Save type, we're going to save it as Adobe Illustrator. Go Save, say Yes, Replace, and make sure you preserve your units 1mm to 1mm, and go OK. Now that we've done that, we can jump over into Illustrator. Alright, so in Illustrator, we're going to go and open that file that we just saved. So let's go over to Downloads and into here and open up that file. And now if we zoom out, whoops, it's zooming in, we can see the full extent of our file. We can go Object, Artboard, Fit to Artwork Bounds. Now we've got an artboard that is A1. Okay, so now that we've got that, what we're going to want to do, in fact I can delete my piece of paper now, or I could just leave it on this layer, is I need to create a few more layers. So I'm going to create another layer, double click on it, I'm going to call it Pattern, Cut, so that's our cut pattern. Let's make another layer, and let's call it let's call it pattern image or pattern print, and then we'll create another layer, and that layer is going to be our image. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we're going to move a little bit of this around. So if I grab my two paths, I'm going to move those up to the next layer, and then I'm going to hide it and lock it. Then I'm going to grab all of the circles like that, and I'm going to move them up onto that layer, and then I'll lock it. And I'm going to hide that layer now and lock it. And then finally I'm going to bring in my image that I'm going to use, and I'll put an image in down here. So I've got an image that I've made. So if I go File and Place, I've got some Mid-Journey images that I've made, and I'm going to use this exported image here. You'll notice that it's enhanced, and I've used Adobe Bridge to just double its size up to 2000 pixels. Let's place that image, just come in here, drag out, and then I might just rotate my image like that and press enter. Oops, no, cancel. Alright, now I'm going to put that underneath that pattern print. So here's my, let's just zoom in. We're going to just get this image the right size. So let's just say scale it down a little bit more and move it into place. And let's say we like that. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to hide oops, I'm going to hide my image, and I'm going to take this and unlock that. And I'm going to select all of these circles, and I'm going to change them from being green to be black. So if I just click on this and then flip, and then click on my outlines and make it none, now I've got a screen. So if I printed that, what is black is obviously going to be where the ink is applied in my screen print. Okay, so what we can do is we can do the same thing up here. Let's just zoom out. Let's grab all those circles, flip it, invert it, grab the lines and make them none. Okay, so now we've got that screen as well. Now what I'm going to do is come back down here to this one and zoom in. Alright, now I'm going to place my image here. So let's go back, turn that on, and we can see our image. So what we're going to do is we're going to use transparency on that image, and we're going to use the dots as the mask. So we need black and white for the mask. Now you can go Window, Transparency, but I've already got it out here. Alright, so what we can do now that we've got everything set up is to, on the word image, just click on the circle. And now we can see we've got this Make Mask section. So we're going to click in here and we're going to cut and paste this dot pattern into this section here and make the mask. So what we need to do is to come back in onto this layer, and let's lock the image, and let's grab that and Control C for copy it. And then let's go back in and unlock our image, click on this, click on here to activate that and go Control V. No, Control Z, double click it and then go Control V. And now you can see we've got our mask. For whatever reason it hasn't put it in the right spot, so we can just move it with our keyboard or drag it back into place and just nudge it. And then if we go invert, what we should get when we click on the image here, finally, in going through a couple of options, we get the right thing. So now we have our image, we have our screen, and I needed to hide the pattern away because it's on top. We've got our screen, and we have our clipping that's inverted, and we've got our image in underneath. And now you can see that we could have, if we get the pattern outline and turn it on, we've got our cutting line for our pattern, we've got our seam allowance inside, and then we've got our grid. So now we can try and do the same thing again for the top of our pattern. So let's turn this on. Let's just zoom out. Okay, let's create a new image layer. And let's bring in the same image. Oh, I'm bringing a different one. Let's go File, Place. Let's choose a different image. Let's choose this one. Place that, drag it out, let's rotate it, put it in place, drag it out, keep the aspect right, and move it into position like that. Alright, so now what we're going to do is try to do this all over again. Let's go back to pattern, turn our image off, make sure that everything that we don't want to select is locked, drag out here, go Control C, turn this back on, turn that off, click on that, activate our mask, Control V. We know it's in the wrong place, but we can just manually, quickly, roughly get it back. We can click here, we can turn that back on. We can double click in here and then just align it. Not quite sure why this. Put a comment in the comments if you know why I'm messing that bit up. Click back on the picture, turn that off, come back here for image 2 and go invert mask. And now we've got our image in underneath and we've got our pattern, and here you can see where our screen overlaps, we get the image fully coming through. Okay, so now what we've been able to do is to create our pattern. It's all laid out. We can effectively select it all. What we can do is we can select it all. Got some of it locked. Let's get out of here. Actually, click on that. Okay, that's better. Let's unlock that. Okay, let's go File. Let's go Export. Export as. Let's just call it. Yeah, let's just call it that. And export it. And we've got it at 300 dpi as a PNG. And you can see we've got transparency. Let's go OK. And now we've saved our file as a PNG with alpha for printing. So now we can go ahead and print that image out on a textile printer, and we can then cut out our tote bag and assemble it with our digital graphics that we generated in AI and our random pattern scaled circle pattern that we created in Rhino and Grasshopper. Thanks everyone, have fun making this, and I look forward to seeing you in class soon.